Good morning everyone and happy Koningsdag to all of my Dutchies. I'm wearing my most Dutch t-shirt ever. It was a present from colleagues of mine a really long time ago. It says Hup here. But yeah, today is the 27th of April. I'm going to start doing my makeup and then I'll tell you about Koningsdag, in case you don't know, because you're not Dutch and obviously you've never heard of Koningsdag. I'm taking my Glow Last by Auric. So Koningsdag means King's Day. And basically today is the birthday of the King of the Netherlands. His name is Willem-Alexander. And it is a long-standing tradition to celebrate the Queen or the King's birthday. Actually, when I first moved here, we celebrated Queen's Day because the Queen was still in charge. But in 2014, beginning of 2015 or something of the sort, the Queen passed the torch to her son Willem-Alexander, and since then we celebrate his birthday instead of hers. So her birthday was April 31st, and I have celebrated quite a few of her birthdays. And funny enough, the year that we started celebrating Koningsdag instead of Koninginnedag, which is Queen's Day, was actually the year I'm taking my concealer now, my Instant from Clarins. It was also the year that I defended my thesis, and my thesis was planned for former Queen's Day. So that was a very like cool experience, because for the first time in like many years, April 31st was not Queen's Day and I got to defend my thesis. I thought that was pretty special. But anyway, since 2015 we celebrate King's Day, and that is just a few days prior, so April 27th. And it's actually really fun. The Dutchies are a proud nation, so whenever they have like patriotic activities to celebrate, the festivities are really off the charts. Everyone is dressed tip to toe in orange, and there are festivities in the city center, there are concerts, there are a lot of people, there's a lot of beer. I'm taking my McGrath Labs foundation now, by the way, and it's just really fun. And they also have the Rommelmarkt, which is like a market where you can sell your old crap for like a few cents or something, or like for cheaper. So for instance, my husband and my son are heading to the Rommelmarkt in the park that's next to our house in a little bit, to, you know, probably buy some really cheap ass toys for Nicola, and just, you know, to enjoy a little bit the festivities for King's Day. I unfortunately need to pass by work first, so I will be there in the morning and I will join them in the afternoon. But you know, that doesn't prevent me from being dressed in orange and being a part of the party. Oh, and obviously it's a free day. That's why I said I need to go into work, but they're going to the park because most other people don't actually work on King's Day because it's a national celebration. I mentioned in my monthly roundup video, but I've really been enjoying using my McGrath foundation again, and especially now that it still sort of fits me in terms of the tones because I'm quite pale. And I have really been enjoying this foundation together with this specific powder. This is the Dior Backstage Powder No Powder, and I feel like these two somehow make a magical combination, because I've always been a little bit like undecided on whether I like the McGrath foundation, because while I like the finish, it's a very natural finish, I felt like throughout the day it tends to like start slipping around a bit earlier than my other favorite light coverage, like more natural finish kind of foundations. But since I started using it with this powder, I'm actually really enjoying it. Okay, for bronzer, I'm actually going to take my Fenty Cream Bronzer in the shade Honey Glaze, because I also want to use the cream blush that I have from the brand, which is this beautiful orange color called Fuego Flush, but I'm going to get to that in a little bit. So my most favorite Queen's Day, it was at the time still Queen's Day, that I've ever celebrated was quite some years ago now, I think maybe 2008-2009, and one of my friends who lives in a little village nearby, like about half an hour by train, invited me to join them for like an old-timers parade. So they have this like old-timer car, and on King's Day, that day, there was like a parade of old-timers. So we basically drove with their car and a bunch of other old-timers through parts of the Netherlands and Germany. We had lunch, we had drinks. It was actually a really fun day. It was glorious weather. Taking Fuego Flush now, by the way, because orange is the theme for today. And honestly, there have been also many like King's or Queen's days that I have not really done anything or celebrated at all, because also at this time of the year the weather here can still be really crappy. It can still be like that unpredictable, extremely rainy, extremely cold, you know, windy weather, and if the weather's like that I am less likely to feel very festive. But on a day like today, when the sun is out and it will be a glorious, you know, spring day, celebrating King's Day actually sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know that we will make it to the city. I think we'll just go to the park to enjoy that Rommelmarkt, and we will see what we do after that. But nevertheless, yeah, it's fun to share this little tradition of the Dutchies with you, because, you know, otherwise you may never have heard of it, and it's fun to discover traditions from other countries that you've never really heard about or imagined that existed. I'm going to take Golden Nectar now from McGrath to highlight real quick, and then we're going to move on to the eye look. Before I move into the eye makeup, I'm just quickly going to set everything with my Fix Plus. And what I've also discovered, by the way, is that if I apply a little bit of my Fix Plus also here to set my concealer, especially the concealer from Clarins, it doesn't really dry out my skin anymore as much, because I noticed at one point that that concealer was starting to be really drying for my under eyes. But ever since I started to just gently dab a little bit more of Fix Plus underneath there, I feel like it's been pretty okay. Now the central piece of today's look is going to be the only like truly orange eyeshadow that I can think of in Pat McGrath's collection, which is this one here. This is the shade Corrupt Copper. But before we get into the Celestial Odyssey palette, I actually want to take out another palette that I've started, you know, thinking about more and enjoying more now that the sun is out, and that is the Utopian Dream palette. As I predicted already in the summer of last year, during the winter I didn't really use this palette as much. However, now that the sun is out, I'm like, oh, Utopian Dream sounds like fun. So today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a look with Corrupt Copper and a lot of shades from Utopian Dream. I'm going to start off with this beautiful coral shade over here, which I'm just going to fluff generously through my crease. The city where I live is relatively small, so the festivities here are also quite modest, but if you go to the bigger towns like Amsterdam or The Hague, I think there will be a lot, you know, it will be a lot more obvious that there is a true national celebration going on, because the streets will be filled with people. At least pre-corona, that's how King's Day was always celebrated. Like a lot of people on the street, a lot of beer. Basically, at the end of the day, your shoes would stick to the asphalt because there would be so much beer spilled on it. So if you really wanted to partake in like the true festivities, you would have to go to one of the bigger towns. But I'm someone who enjoys the festivities, but I do not enjoy crowds one bit. So for me, the modest festivities and that old-timer parade have been fantastic ways to celebrate King's Day, or, you know, Queen's Day. I'm going to try to apply this shade in my outer corner with a very light hand, just to give a little bit of depth and definition, but like without making the look too deep or too dramatic. I just want a tiny bit more of definition in the outer corners. I totally forgot to zoom you in. Let me do that now. Okay, I feel like we are as close as we should be at this point in time, and I'm just continuing to lightly fluff that browny pinky shade. Next I'm going to take my glitter glue from NYX. I'm going to apply Corrupt Copper all over the lid over top of the glitter glue, and I'm going to pop the glitter glue right here onto the moving part of my lid, and now just going into Corrupt Copper on my finger because I'm too lazy to have to wash a brush after that. I love how vibrant this orange is. There's something about the tone of Corrupt Copper that is just so pleasing to me. So in my inner corners, I'm actually thinking of taking this shade over here It's like this pastel peachy orange gold shade. I was initially thinking of taking the gold shade from the Utopian Dream palette, but I feel like I'm going to look like a clown because I already have like these pinky shades in my crease and then the gold and the orange, and it's just getting a little bit clownesque. We want to make the king proud, so we cannot look like a clown today. So I don't really know much about the royal family here. They don't have quite the status of the royal family in England, for example. They're not quite enjoying the same kind of, you know, attention. I'm now going to go into the Utopian Dream palette and take just a tiny bit of this shade to layer over top of that peach, just to lighten it up a bit. I think the queen here was a very like beloved personality. I feel like she's a little bit like Queen Elizabeth, in the sense that she's like that very strong matriarch. But the king himself, I think, was never super interesting. However, his wife is quite the admirable woman. His wife's name is Maxima, and she's Argentinian. And from what I understand, her father is a controversial figure in Argentina. He was some sort of a dictator, not a great person. So when they first, you know, started their romance, it was a bit of a Romeo and Juliet story. However, the Dutch, you know, I don't know, royal family decided to welcome her, and she is like truly an example of what a female royal family member should be, because she's classy, she's beautiful, she's smart. Okay, before I continue rambling, I am going to take, of course, the tiniest bit of this shade. This is Astrologian Orchid from the Utopian Dream palette, and obviously we're going to layer that a little bit over top of the Corrupt Copper shade to see how that looks like. So I actually have the feeling that out of all the royal family members, Maxima is probably one of the most beloved people, and she's not even truly of Dutch descent, which is really cool, you know, that the Dutchies can appreciate someone who is not even Dutch by blood. And I'm now actually thinking that maybe I would like to take a little bit of this shade and actually even spritz my brush just to get a bit more of a wet effect in the center of my lids. Oh yeah, now we're talking. That's it. To finish off the look on a slightly more orange leaning note, I'm going to go back into Celestial Odyssey and take this shade here, which is like a caramel orange tinged matte, and I'm going to just run that on my lower lash line like this. So for my Dutchy friends out there, if you have like a really fun fact that you would like to share about King's Day or Queen's Day, or something that you've done that's really fun, or something like some interesting trivia for the rest of us regarding the royal family, then by all means let us know in the comment section below. Now I'm going to finish off with this sort of like bronzy Kiko eyeshadow stick, which I'm going to pop right here into my waterline. I feel the need to be extra ridiculous, extra orange, and just commit to the whole theme. So I'm going to take the only orange lipstick that I have in my collection. It is this YSL Rouge, what is this called again? Rouge Pour Couture lipstick. Well, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this little King's Day inspired look. I am truly digging it. I'm really in the mood to be celebrating, even though I'll be at work for a little bit. As usual, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about this look. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. Bye!